Hey CommCare app builders, Kevin here again with the product team at Demagi. This is the third video in our CommCare onboarding series. In this video, we'll create an additional form that we can use to follow up with the pregnant women we've registered in our village. Once we've done that, we'll connect the registration form and the follow-up form using a feature we call case management. Case management is a very powerful feature in CommCare. It's what makes CommCare applications smart and allows you to connect the information collected in one form to the next form. For instance, if you're conducting a follow-up visit, the woman's name, birth date, and due date can all be carried over. Using case management, we can collect data and use it multiple times in the same form or connect it to be used in separate forms. Personalize forms for different cases or based on information we already know about the case. Provide mobile workers with information about the case to improve follow-up measures. And finally, target counseling messages according to the data gathered about the case. Let's see how it works. For an application to leverage case management, we need at least two forms so we can register a case and then follow up on it. We've already created a registration form, which we'll use to create new cases. Now, we're going to create a home visit form that will be used to follow up with a pregnant woman on a second visit. Okay, let's start by building a form for our mobile worker to use in his or her follow-up home visit. In CommCare HQ, go to Applications, Village Health. Because we selected Case List when we started our application, a second follow-up form was automatically created. Set the form name to Home Visit. Let's start by prompting the mobile user to follow up if the woman stated she was feeling sick during the last visit. Add a single answer multiple choice question from the question bar and make the following changes. You can see that later we are going to want to link this to the question from the registration form. We will get to this later in the video. Now add two choices. Next, we're going to ask a couple of yes or no questions about whether or not the woman has gone to the clinic. We can create a copy of feeling sick and simply change the question ID and label text. Using the keyboard shortcuts Control-C, or if on a Mac, Command-C to copy the above question. Then use Control-V or Command-V to paste it. Click on the newly created copy and make the following changes. Make a copy of the question you just created, go to the newly created copy, and make the following changes. We'll come back later and add all the logic in, since it is a bit complex. Right now, you should have a form like this. Okay, now we need to set up our case management settings so we can use the data we've collected in the registration form in our follow-up form. Click on the gear icon to go to the registration form settings. There are three tabs: Case Management, Settings, and Actions. Go to the Case Management tab. You should see one drop-down where you can choose the action that the form will take. The registration form should open a new case. The next section says Save data to the following case properties. Every piece of information we ask for in a form can automatically be sent to the CommCare server. However, if we want to track information over time, sometimes we want to save some of that data to the case list. We might want to do this to reference data in another form. Let's think of some information about each pregnant woman that we might want to reference on the phone. The first one is mandatory: name. In CommCare, you always have to have a case property that you designate as the case's name. That makes sense. You have to be able to call the case something after all. Right now, it defaulted to the woman's name. We also want to save if the woman is feeling sick, so we can follow up regarding how she is feeling in our next home visit. Let's add this to our case properties. Now let's set our follow-up form, so that when we add information to it, it updates our cases. Navigate to the Home Visit form, and again, go to the Case Management tab. Notice that this time there is no requirement to save a name for the case. We did that already through the registration form. We want the home visit form to update or close an existing case, not open a new one. Right now, we're not going to change anything. The form is configured so that the mobile user will need to select the name of the case, the pregnant mother's name, before completing the form. Now, to finish up, let's configure the rest of the case management settings. First, let's name our case list something more specific, like a pregnancy. Next, we need to define the case type. For example, we might have one case list that deals with pregnancies, and another one that deals with babies. The name of the case type should be simple. Let's also call it pregnancy. Under the Settings tab, enter case type pregnancy. We also want to change the label for cases. This is the title of your case lists. Since our cases are the pregnant women, under the Case List tab, we can name this Pregnant Women. Finally, let's go over to our Case Detail tab. The Case Detail page is shown after we choose to follow up with someone from our case list and gives us more information about the person. By using the drop-down, we can choose to see information like the woman's name, if she is feeling sick, when the case was opened, and when it was last modified. For now, let's choose to see the woman's name and if she was feeling sick. Let's quickly use the App Preview tool to see what our app is starting to look like. Awesome! You can see that we now have a case list folder named Pregnancy ready for us to jump into. Inside the case list, we now have a form for registration and a form for a home visit. Congratulations! You just added multiple forms to your CommCare application and connected them together using case management. In the next video, we're going to test out our application and see what we're missing. Well, since you made it this far, it's time for your Tamagi fun fact. Here at Tamagi, we have over 60 people on our global services team who work around the world implementing CommCare projects with different organizations. Currently, we have over 500 projects in more than 60 countries. That's a lot of impact.